He went about doing good. Acts chapter 10, verse 38. Simon Peter had a house at Capernaum, which is one of the towns that stand on the shore of the Lake of Galilee. There our Lord cured the mother of Peter's wife of a bad fever by his mighty power in one moment, and there he generally lived when he was in those parts. But he never stayed there long, for he went about doing good. In every town or village that he came to, he used to go and teach in the synagogue. A synagogue was a place where the Jews who lived too far from Jerusalem to go to the temple every Sabbath day used to meet and hear the Old Testament read and explained to them and to pray together. Our Lord used to teach in the synagogues and draw out all the meaning of the law, and when he came out, all the sick people who were near, and all the blind and deaf and dumb people were brought to him, and he cured them all by only just touching them, or even only by bidding their disease to go away. For he was God as well as man, and could do all things. Or he would sit on the mountainside, and all the people would come round him, and he would teach them. There is one beautiful discourse of his called the Sermon on the Mount, which I hope you will soon know well. And in it he taught his disciples the prayer we all say and call the Lord's Prayer, and which we love the best of all prayers. I have compassion on the multitude. Matthew 15, verse 32. Our Lord Jesus chose out 12 of his disciples to be always with him, and to teach and work with him. All the 6 you have heard of before were among them, and there was another called Matthew, who had been a rich man, but left all his riches to follow our Lord. These 12 were called apostles. I told you that the Jews were in 2 parties, called Pharisees and Sadducees, and they used to quarrel and have many bad ways. When they found that Jesus blamed them, they were very angry. And when he was called the Holy One whom God promised, they said that the Christ would be a great king, and that he was only pretending. But all the poor heard him gladly, and when he was driven out of the towns, they came after him into the hills and open places, and went everywhere they could to hear him. One day evening was coming on, and all these people had been with him all day, and had nothing to eat. He said to Philip, "Whence shall we buy bread, that these may eat?" Philip came from a village just below, but he didn't know what to do. Andrew said that there was a little boy there, who had brought 5 loaves and 2 small fishes, but what would they be among so many? Indeed, the loaves were not like ours, only thin barley cakes. But our Lord said, "Make the men sit down." So they all sat on the grass, and he gave thanks, and began to give out to the apostles the bread and the fish. And they never came to an end, but there was enough for all the 5,000. And when they had done, he told the apostles to gather up the remains, that nothing might be lost. And there was enough to fill 12 great baskets. Be of good cheer. It is I. Be not afraid. Matthew chapter 14, verse 27. The people whom Jesus had fed wanted to make him a king, but he would not be an earthly king. So he told the apostles to row away across the lake, while he went up alone into the hills to pray to his Father, where people could not find him. It was a rough night. The wind came down from the hills and tossed the lake up in great waves, and the apostles rowed with all their might, but they made little way. But when the night was far on, they saw a figure coming to them, walking on the waves. They were frightened and cried out. Then the figure said, "It is I. Be not afraid." And they knew it was their master, and were glad. And Peter said, "Lord, if it be thou, bid me come unto thee on the water." So he came out of the boat, and as long as he trusted in his master, he could walk. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid, and cried out, and then he began to sink. He called out, and Jesus put forth his hand and held him up, saying, "O thou of little faith, wherefore didst thou doubt?" Then they were both taken into the boat, and the wind ceased, and the lake was calm and still.